Here, another question is from someone. What do you mean by context and content? Can you explain something about this?
Sure. The content of the interview is the information that the patient gives. So it's normally what is noted down. That is the information, that's the content. So everything the patient tells, but without information on how it is told, which is important to know down on paper. But it's what you see on a video, and of course what you see in daily practice. You have a real person before sitting in front of you, and you have a whole lot more information than only what he is telling. And even what he is telling will not be noted down completely on paper, because it goes too quickly. So you will make a choice. Even the content will be a choice of everything he's telling. For instance, if the patient talks very quickly, you will not be able to follow, and probably you will not write down somewhere the half of the information is dropped because I couldn't follow. Even that is dropped. Even that information is not there. Or the patient is repeating himself a lot. Probably you will not write down every repetition because you feel it makes no sense. And you don't write down, he's repeating the same thing over again. Mostly you don't write it down. If you remember it, if you have a good memory, you will remember. But if you have a lot of patients, and maybe over the years, you will not remember everything of every patient. I mean, you only have your files, and the other information will be forgotten or blurred. So the other information, that's the context. The context, by the context I mean the way the information comes to you. And you can call it observation. It's what you observe, but it's not only observation with your eyes, it's also an impression the patient makes. And that's not only visual. The impression is a total picture of behavior of the patient, of posture of the patient, of pace, his rhythm. Is he talking quickly, or is he thinking a long time before he's talking, or is he very spontaneous, or is he weighing his words? Is he in the beginning rather stiff and then relaxed after 2 hours, which is normal, or is he in the beginning very stiff and still stiff after 2 hours? Is he very withdrawn and withhold, very controlled or not? You cannot write it down, the patient is very controlled, but you will mention it, whether he's controlled. Do you believe your patient or not? If you look him in the eyes, do you really see the intensity or the emotionality? Because this is all very subtle. The patient can, only change a little muscle in his face and you will notice it, but it won't be in your files. So it will not be in the content, but it's part of the context. A lot of this information, let's say the majority of this information gets lost because we are not trained well enough, I think, to make this implicit information explicit. And I try to train my students to question themselves. And we do this, for instance, in live case taking by interrupting the interview after half an hour, sending the patient out and asking the first question, what kind of patient do you have in front of you? Because we see very often the patients start to go into details and lose the big picture, or don't verbalize the big picture. The big picture is what kind of person, what kind of case. And that is the first impression, and it's very important of the first, let's say, 20 minutes, half hour of the case. It gives so much information, and if you don't make it explicit, it will be lost. And I feel it can determine your choice of your case. Because I've seen so many students' paper cases that I say, I cannot decide on this or this remedy. They ask me to differentiate between remedies. I cannot decide on the basis of your content. If I see the patient, then it becomes very clear. The kingdom becomes clear. The way the information is conveyed becomes clear. And sometimes the symptom is not in the content, but it's completely in the context. I will give you an example. A few years ago, we had a patient, a woman in her 30s, and she needed a remedy of the conifer family. Now, she didn't give much of information that is listed as the sensation of the conifers. Yet, the whole interview was, for the participants, very frustrating, because they couldn't make any sense of what she was telling. You answer a question, you ask a question, she answers something different. You go into that different answer, she goes somewhere else. You follow the patient, because I always tell them you have to follow the patient. You follow the patient, she jumps to another subject. No problem, you follow again, she comes to the first subject. So in the end, yes, you had a few subjects, but they were so disconnected. And the disconnection in itself is a characteristic of the conifer family. But that's contextual. That's not in the content. See what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.